Did that work? Hello and welcome back to the Ven. It is Bulleen versus Alamein here in round 13 of the Senol NPL Women's. Of course, Bulleen high and flying in this NPL Women's season. They do sit second. A win today by appropriate amount of goals will mean that they do go atop, leapfrogging the likes of a Box Hill, of course. Alamein as well. Technically 3 wins in the last 3 games if you include the Nike Cup. But some changes have been made for this Bulleen Lions side, including one of the A-League girls and a new signing as well that's made the bench today. Here. Hello. Oh. Yeah, that's where we usually have it anyway.
Hello, Brendan. I'm tapping the effects mic. It's showing the bars on the camera.
Help us level the playing field. Sign the parliamentary petition today to fuel the growth and fund the game.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Senol NPLW here at the Veneto Club. It's Bulleen Lions taking on Alamein here on this Saturday night in Female Football Week. Of course, Bulleen Lions sitting high and mighty, almost atop the NPL women's table. A win today by an appropriate amount of goals will mean that they do leapfrog a one Box Hill sitting atop the league. Alamein will be wanting to win this game. Of course, finals berth has passed them since 2021. They did finish 6th last year, 3 points out of that finals position. And it's borderline a kick clash here as well at the Veneto Club. Of course, Alamein traditionally in their navy blue, they are wearing red today, as they wore midweek against Bandura United in that 3-0 win in the Nike Cup. We'll go through the lineups for you as well. Just the one change for Bulleen Lions from midweek is number 6, Laura Muldiri, comes in place of Olivia Bomford. But in between the sticks today is Alyssa Dali-Olist, Annabelle Yates, Catherine Renahan, Claudia Mahosic. Number 8 and captain for today is Sarah Kane. Number 9, Nia Saleh. Number 10, Maddie Rakic. Number 14, Tiffany Eliadis. Number 17, Maya Markovsky. And number 22, Alana Cortellino. And for the visitors today, the exact same squad that started that game against Bandura does start this game. And it's Miranda Temperman in between the sticks. Stel Burgess with the captain's armband today, followed by Shinatsu Shidara, Analia Kopoulos and Jess Shilton. Dakota Theisen, Nev Dustin, Summer Lasky, Emma Runnels, Zoe Horton, and Anais Jasevsky. Of course, Alamein have won their last 3 games as well, their last 3 competitive fixtures, including that Nike Cup game. It was a 3-0 win against Bandura, a 2-0 win against Victory at home, and a 1-0 win against Spring Hills at home. Bulleen Lions, of course, three wins, a loss, and a draw in their last 5 games. Notably for Bulleen Lions as well, Nikki Furukawa and Ava Breedis enter the bench. 2 new signings, of course. Nikki Furukawa coming over from South Melbourne and Ava Breedis from Canberra United, in place of Olivia Bomford, who is absent from the team sheet today. And Nikki Furukawa has her shirt, but she's walking around, we did notice, as we're underway here. And Shadara will go already to Burgess, who finds Shadara again. And then here's Kane, who goes all the way back to Renahan. And then it's Saleh again, who finds Kane. And then here's Yates. Back over to Kane now, who finds Renahan. And then it goes back and long to Dustin. Over to Leakopoulos. And is Horton now with the back to goal as she turns by Sarah Kane, and back over to Maddie Rakic, who goes all over the top, and Temperman does clear the ball onto Eliadis' head. And there's Dakota Theisen again, who will send us all the way back to Mahosic. Is Eliadis over to Yates. And now back to Renahan. Over to Eliadis once again. There's Dustin. Horton with it back to goal and goes the other way. But Dustin once again. And it's a long ball by Shadara, headed away by Muldiri. go long now for Bulleen. He'll try to find the head of Maya Markovsky. And it goes backwards to Soleil and then over to Kane. And then here's Eliadis. Finds Markovsky. Still Markovsky with the quick feet. Turns around and tries to find Naya Soleil in the middle. But it does find Emma Runnels. And then back down the line and out for a throw. Of course, Maya Markovsky with 16 goals to her name this season in, of course, 13 games. But we do know the quality that she possesses, of course. Did have that stint at Canberra United last season, much like an Ava Breedis who does sit on the bench. And it's Alamein with a chance now as they go over the bar. And it'll be Dalost to take the goal kick. And here's Alyssa Dalost, who goes long to Eliadis and then back over to Kane. He tries to find Rakic and she just manages to push that ball out. And it will be Burgess to retake the throw. Familiar place for Burgess is the Ven. Of course, did a majority of a youth career at the football club here at Bulleen. And Emma Runnels now, who does go long with a drive. Does go wide to Lasky. Here's Lasky with a strike. Into the arms of Delost. And that was good movement there by Emma Runnels, who just manages to find some Lasky out wide. And that's Cortolino. Still Cortolino, who doesn't manage to get around Jess Shilton and goes out for a throw. It's a long throw to find Runnels' head. Over the top to Horton and cleared once again, that time by Myosic. Throw in by Lasky. Here's Shilton. Shilton with the cross and it's over the top and Anastasevsky's got space. Anastasevsky with the cross. Over the top of everyone and pushed out of danger there by Leah Molderi. And it will be a corner. Looks like it once again Nev Dustin to take, and we know she loves a corner here. And means Senol NPLW Women's, of course. It's just 5 minutes on the clock here. As Dustin sends it in. Headed on by Runnels, who goes wide of the post, and it will be another goal kick. Dullos to get us back underway. And also on the bench for Bulleen is JG Garon, Claire Angel, Emmy Bunnell, and Ashley Jordan. Of course, Nikki Furukawa and Ava Breedis also mentioned. Alamein, it's pretty similar squad. Of course, Savannah Anastasopoulos is absent from the squad as well as Priya Archdeacon. But Kate Bean, Jordan Toms-Wedge, Matilda Laurie, Mila Ralph, Satara Kasimi, and Harriet Laurie all on the bench for Alamein. As Nev Dustin just kicks it out for a throw, and Annabelle Yates will take the throw. Headed on. Jasevsky. Shadara with the clearance. Over to Kane. Who thighs in, just finds Soleil and goes back to Yates, who turns the man and goes over to Myosic. And then it's a long ball over the top to Alana Cortolino, who doesn't get around Jess Shelton, but she will drive now. And finds Dustin. There's Horton. Over to Runnels, and then Lasky. But Sarah Kane finds Rakic. Over to Saleh. And then tries to slot the through ball through to Markovsky, but Nev Dustin manages to get in front of her. And shouts for a free kick, but it will be a throw in. Of course, this is the final game of today's game week as Alamein lost to Avondale, lost to Spring Hills 1-0. Essendon Royals did beat South Melbourne 4-1, and Keilor Park did lose 5-2 to Burundara Eagles. Of course, no other notable changes either around the league for anyone in the Senol NPL Women's, apart from, of course, South Melbourne, who earlier last week announced the signing of Alana Shern and Clancy Westaway, but Bulleen, of course, just the 2 new signings so far. The window does close next Thursday, I think it is, the 23rd. But still, one more game week before that transfer deadline. Of course, the men's opens in about 6 weeks. But there's Horton, who manages to go to Dustin and over the top back to Horton. And then Jasevsky chasing, but Burgess now will drive. Burgess over to Horton. Horton with a chance to cross, and she does over the bar by Zoe Horton, but almost opened scoring here at the Veneto Club. Of course, did score 7 last year. Zoe Horton, as well as midweek in that cup game against Bandura. Of course, I think a standout in that game as well was the likes of Summer Lasky and Annalie Akopoulos, who really put their stamp on that game. Of course, Annalie Akopoulos a goal and an assist to her name that day. Playing as centre-back, did move into a more progressive role as the game continued on, but she sits in centre-back today as she has all season with the 2 goals to her name. 2024 team of the season as well for Annalie Akopoulos, as well as a stint at Bentley Greens, mid-season last year, as Markovsky turns and tries to find Cortolino, who doesn't quite have the strength to get around Jess Shelton, but it goes out for a goal kick now, and Templeman will get us back underway. Of course, former junior Matilda, Miranda Templeman. Did also spend some time at Adelaide United and Melbourne Victory. Of course, Melbourne City Women's also are playing today in that grand final for them. A lot of movement around who will go where from that side. Of course, the likes of Danny Buttress, Ayana Yabayagi, Rebecca Stott. Even over at Victory, you've got the likes of Rachel Lowe, Taylor Ray. The likes you would think would move over to the NPL Victoria, but sent on by Anais Jasevsky, and Zoe Horton has some space out wide. And a Krantz across. The strike by Lasky, and the loss gets down and saves it. Of course, we also did see over at Heidelberg United, Sarah O'Donoghue and Eve Titakardis have also donned the yellow for this season so far. They did play yesterday in that 2-1 win over Bentley Greens, who are really struggling this year, Bentley Greens. They need a miracle to get anything out of this season. Of course, were technically relegated last year, but offered a lifeline when Western United went into administration. And that will be a goal kick here again for the Veneto club. And it will be Alamein. Of course, also mentioned midweek as well. Alamein is one of the only, if not the only, clubs with names on the back of the shirt. So it really helps with identifying who's who in this Alamein side. And the red with the white background really does some nice wonders. from this sort of range, despite the darkness. But it will be a corner now, and you got the height of Markovsky sitting in there. It's almost certain a goal for Bulleen Lions, and she's scored many from this opportunity, of course. 16 to her name this season. League's top goal scorer in front of Kelly McGroarty, Essendon Royals. And it's sent into the park, onto Mayer's head, and then cleared by Jess Shilton, and back to Kane with a nice turn. And cleared once again by Josefsky. She's got some strapping around her ankle, her wrist rather, but of course the former Bulleen Lion herself, Anaïs Josefsky, will know these girls quite well. This team doesn't change a lot around most seasons, as Burgess sends it out to the edge of the box to Kane from distance, who it's deflected by Moranos, who got her arm kicked, it looks. And referee's also called for a handball there, which will be from the edge of the box. And this is very usually Danny Boutrous range, but it looks like it will be Nia Saleh to take it instead. Of course, it's always a great turnout here at Bulleen. Of course, the Northeast Link works that are going on around the area as Nia Saleh lines up over it and goes long to Maddie Rakic with the cross in, across the face of goal, and no one gets ahead to it. And it will be a goal kick now. Of course, centre ref for today, Thomas Rushton. He's joined by Lauren White, Lenny Karavius, and Zamzam Kassab, who's the fourth official. Did spend last season at Avondale, did Zamzam Kassab, but also a referee, as well as Anna Leokopoulos, who did get that referee of the tournament in that under-16s age group at the Emerging Matildas. So you might know a couple of these officials and will know how they kind of operate, and we do know that Anna Leokopoulos loves the physical game, so she'll keep her eyes out for that one as Myasik goes back to Eliadis, former South Melbourne player, over to Maya Markovsky. And then Long tries to find Cortellino, but still Cortellino. And he's pushed off the ball, and it's another free kick. Of course, Alana Cortellino as well, a very similar profile to that of Anaïs Josefsky, who you could assume was a like-for-like replacement. They're playing, it's a very similar position, similar height, and similar kind of player. And be interesting to see that match up later in the game as Tiffany Eliadis, it's Nia Saleh rather, who will line up over the ball. And the free kick sent in. Eliadis' head doesn't quite get there as Templeman goes quickly and back to Burgess, who finds Shadara. And then Long. Off the head of Myasik. Renahan. Leokopoulos sends it out to Saleh, who's sitting very deep. And then back over to Renahan. And Long down the line, tries to find Cortellino, but just Shilton cleans that one up. And there's a player on the floor for Bulleen Lions, and looks like a yellow card offered as well. And just a little bit of a drinks break while this player gets some treatment. Of course, last time these two faced each other, it was July last year. with a 3-1 win. Iliadis, Massey and Boutros that day. Prior to that, here at the Veneto Club, it was a 2-1 win for the Bulleen Lions with a Boutros and Saleh goal in the quarterfinal of that Nike Cup game. Of course, both sides still remain in that competition. It was Bulleen Lions who did win 2-0 over Bayside Argonauts midweek. Ashley Jordan and Tiffany Iliadis did score. Of course, Olivia Bomford, red card that day. Which would mean, of course, she does miss the next domestic fixture, which is this one. Instead, it's Nikki Furukawa, the former South Melbourne girl who has the number 7 shirt. Both formerly of South Melbourne this season and last. Of course, still looking for a Nikki Furukawa type player replacement. Of course, a visa player. And Nikki Furukawa has entered the field. Looks like that sub has been made as well. We just spoke about her, but Nikki Furukawa comes on for a maiden Bulleen Lions game. We'll get confirmation for who exactly, but Nikki Furukawa, of course, as mentioned, former South Melbourne girl this season, as well as Canadian nationality. Dalost goes backwards. Unsure who quite was injured. Looks like it was a winger for Bulleen Lions. Of course, like-for-like change with that of Nikki Furukawa. It looks like it was, in fact, Liam Muldeary, who missed that midweek game, and a free kick sent in by Leokopoulos, who's headed on by Runnels, cleared by Eliadis, cleared again by Kane, headed by Runnels, back to goal by Dustin, and into the arms of Dalost. Yes, there's confirmation that Liam Muldeary substituted off after just 18 minutes on the clock as well, which is quite unfortunate, but Nikki Furukawa is no bad replacement. It's deflected by Markovsky and back now as Renahan sends it all the way over to Markovsky once again. And is Theisen sent into the middle to Dustin. Back over to Runnels. Quick feet by Runnels, who managed to get around Kane. And Lasky's wide. Lasky again along the floor. There's Jasevsky, who manages to go all the way back to Boo just now. And now Shadara. Long by Shadara and over the top into the arms of Dalost, but just 22 minutes played here at the Veneto Club. It's quite a good result for Alamein if things stay the same. And then as those things would stand, it would mean Bulleen Lions would be third second, equal points with third. Alamein would move up to 6th place. If a win today would move them up to 4th. Of course, absent from the finals series for the last couple of years. It's been 5 seasons since they did make a finals campaign, and traditionally they don't make a lot of A-League women's signings during this sort of period. Last year it was just Miranda Templeman who signed on. This year, rumours of a talk with Paige Zoyce, who opted to take a little bit of a break from the game. Of course, the Adelaide United player now. And it's Saleh, who tries to look up for Maya Markovsky, but goes out to Eliadis. And then he's Kane around the first, around the second, and goes wide of the post. Short to Shadara, and over to Theisen, who will find Jasewski now, and goes all the way long to Horton, and she's got time and numbers in the box. Is Horton with the cross into the arms of Delost. And it will be Yates now, who just pushes it all the way back to Mysick, and he's Kane. Out wide to Furukawa now. Eliadis finds Furukawa, who's offside, but shows her quality there. She's getting behind the likes of Nanolo Kapelos. It's not the easiest job in the world to do, but managed to almost make it. And it's a long ball by Leokopoulos, who finds Dustin, who turns to Lasky out wide. Is Lasky along the floor, tries to find Horton, who manages to get to Yates, and then backwards to Sally, and then over to Yates again. And he's Kane now. Eliadis. Is Furukawa. Through ball by Furukawa, who Shadara pushes it all the way back to Templeman, who's under pressure, and goes long to alleviate that Maya Markovsky size hole, and goes over to Runnels now. Back by Shilton. Back the other way now by Renahan. Over to Eliadis. Mysick. There's Burgess. It's on the floor and now taken down by Cortolino, and back the other way now by Yates. And Furukawa's there as Joseph over the top of Jess Shilton, and manages to not get through, and finds Eliadis on the edge of the box. Again, cleared by Leokopoulos. And he's Furukawa now. Over to Eliadis, Furukawa, back to Markovsky, and then back over to the goalkeeper, and here's Dustin now. Finds Jasewski out wide. Still Jasewski. Across the face of goal as Runnels now goes wide to Lasky. Lasky around the first, around the second, cleared by Mysick, and it will be a throw now. course, Melbourne City crowned champions of the A-League Women as well. That 3-1 win. And it will be another corner for Alamein. It was Holly McNamara with a double, and then Atisha McKenna, from what I was told, was an absolute worldie. Who gives it a 3-1 win. It's Melbourne City. That's now 3 leagues in a row, and first time they've made a grand final and won it. So congratulations to Melbourne City, who would see a bulk of their squad will enter the NPLW. As ball sent in, headed on nearly by Emma Runnels, and back out for another goal kick. Half an hour on the clock here at the Veneto Club. Of course, their men's side, Bulleen Lions, did draw to Northcote City at John Kay Memorial Park yesterday night. And Maya Markovsky's chasing as Templeman kicks the ball up and manages to hold on to the ball and go to Leakopoulos. There's Horton. Back to Runnels, who sends along. So Molassi's got a chance to come through now. And Annabelle Yates clears it only as far as Dustin. And Theisen. And then Horton backwards to Kane, and then Mysick, and then now Renahan. You find Furukawa out wide, and then Eliadis now. Again sends it through to Markovsky. Over to Shadara. Ball sent long to Jasevsky. Out wide. Who headers it on to the centre of the park. To Theisen. And Jasevsky now can drive. She's got Yates in front of her, but will go herself and cross the ball in. Headed on by Horton, and there's not enough power on that one as it goes into the arms of DeLost. There's Furukawa now, who's been really controlling that midfield for the Lions. It's Furukawa. Oh, and she's taken down, but it's play on here at Calabria Club. All the way back. And Jess Shilton goes out to Lasky. There's Dustin, who goes down and gets a throw-in out of it, but of course Maddie Rakic does move to right back in this role as well, a role she was predominantly for the Heidelberg Warriors, I guess you could say, when they did win that championship. Has been moved into a more of a left winger, left midfielder type of role, as My Six nearly sent through and Markovsky almost in behind, but once again goes to Templeman, who finds Shadara and goes along the floor to Theisen. Over to Burgess now. Long ball down the line by Burgess to find Horton. Still Horton, who keeps the ball in, and she's got Mysick to beat. And she does get around her and cross the ball in, across the face, a goal headed on by Emma Runnels. Almost makes it 1-0 for Alamein. And that was great football by Zoe Horton. And wow, it's been all Bulleen today, but that right there is the Alamein way, the John Kyrgios way, you could say. We know the threat Emma Runnels brings up top, of course. Just the 2 goals to a name this season, but does have the height on everyone in this Alamein side. As Nicky Furukawa is almost through, but Jess Shilton turns nicely. But it goes only as far as Eliadis. Eliadis through to Saleh and then deflected out by Leokopoulos. There's Renahan. Through to Saleh and over the top. Trying to find Furukawa again and knocks it out to another throw. Bulleen this time. And it's a short corner that's only gone as far as Anais Jasevsky, but pushed out again for another corner. 10 to play of this half as well. Still 0-0 here at David Barrow Stadium. Of course, a lot of attacking firepower to come off the bench for Bulleen Lions too, so I'd be worried if I was Alamein here, but the ball's sent in, cleared away by Emma Runnels, only as far as Annabelle Yates. Around the first, strikes some distance over the top, chipped ball, but again picked up by Miranda Templeman. Jasevsky. And it's sent along by Shadara. Tried to be headed on by Burgess, and Jasevsky cuts on the inside, tries to go through the legs of Kane. And Myasik Renahan does find Cortolino out wide. It's Cortolino with the cross. Picked up nicely by Miranda Templeman again. And it's been a saving grace for Alamein this year. Traditionally, they do ship quite a few goals, but they've really shored up their defence this season, and it's slowly making progress up the league table. That middle duo of that as Summer Lasky is 1-on-1 with the keeper. Chance to strike through the legs and in. Summer Lasky makes it 1-0 to Alamein. Out of nowhere. Counter-attacking football at the finest. And we're just talking about it as well, the defensive mindset of this Alamein side, and done what they're so known for in that counter-attack, and Somalaski gets a goal to a name. So 4th for the year, Somalaski. New this year after being signed from Wellington United. Prior to that, had a pretty successful NCAA Division 1 career with Carl State Long Beach. But she's now at Alamein and got 4 goals to her name this season. Is Kane over to Yates. Finds Saleh and then back over to Kane now, the captain. Look what it meant to them as well. Everyone got around Somalaski after that goal. Of course, if you're a betting man or woman, you would have put your money against Alamein on this game, but the quality on the park for Bulleen Lions, and they've gone 1-0 down against Alamein here at their home ground. They're so known for being made a fortress. As Myasik goes the long ball to Cortolino. Well sent on and over the bar. Of course, if the speculation's true and that Danny Buttress move does eventuate, it's going to be a difficult season for a majority of these players, as Shidara does manage to get out of that defense after that under pressure play and goes over to Cortolino and back to Saleh, who finds Eliadis. Cortolino over to Markovski. Strike by Markovski along the floor and out. And it's something, of course, Maya Markovski is known for, is taking those shots from range and really carrying this team on her back in terms of goals scored as well. Next top goal scorer in this side is Tiff Eliadis with the 4. Of course, 16 for Maya. Spent some time at Canberra United as well as Melbourne Victory and Melbourne City as well in their youth program, as Burgess sends it on. Here's Eliadis now, who finds Saleh, who will go across to Kane. Along the floor by Kane, knocked on by Shidara. It might be headed on by Markovski, and it's not. Into Templeman's arms. It's not long left in the first half either, and John Kyrgios will be very happy with his side's performance today, as Emma Runnels then just fall over the ball. Markovski over to Kane. And here's Cortolino. Cortolino over to Yates, who Cortolino again with a chance, who goes around Shidara. Shouts for a penalty. It's not. Here's Kane chasing. Horton. Still down the line, and the ball's out now, and it will be a Alamein throw. Everyone up for Alamein. You would assume to be a Burgess throw as Mason Skepsy walks past the ball. Burgess goes backwards to Shidara. Crossed in by Shidara, headed on by Renahan. And here's Lasky again, the goal scorer. Did you get a goal midweek against Bandura? Crosses the ball in. Over the top of Horton. Over to Theisen. And over the top of Dustin. Over to now Shidara to Leakopoulos. Here's Burgess. Chased by Josefsky and again pushed out for another throw. And 5 minutes left of this half, not including added time, we would assume would be about 2 to 3 minutes due to that injury to Nordiri. Thrown long by Yates and out of play by Theisen. Is Josefsky and out. Here's Cortolino. Dakota Theisen done well there in front of her. And Shidara goes backwards now to Shilton. Driving by Shilton. Does find Runnels. Turned by Runnels, and Yates is in front of her as Markovski goes to Cortolino. And pushed out. I think despite the result, I think so far, Tiffany Eliadis has been one of the names on the team sheet that's really stood out to me as looking from this upward angle into the game, of course. This has really been controlling that midfield for the Bulleen Lions. Of course, did spend some time in the Olympiacos Academy as well. Eliadis, as well as third stint at Bulleen Lions after some time with South Melbourne in victory. There's Kane. Goes over to Rakic. And then Renahan. Who tries to find Furukawa, who doesn't get there in time. This is backwards by Shilton. Over to Leakopoulos. It's Leakopoulos over to Shilton again. And then knocked on to Lasky, who's out wide. Knocked on again by Shilton, who is sitting along. Again by Horton, who just manages to knock the ball on. Not long left in this first half either for Alamein to keep this lead. They haven't considered a goal in their last three, Alamein. A 1-0 win against Spring Hills, a 2-0 win against Victory, and then a 3-0 win against Bandura. If patterns mean anything to anyone, it'll be a 4-0 win here today, but this defense has done really well here to get him behind us. Cortolino sends the ball in, and Boo just manages to knock the ball onto a goalkeeper in Templeman. And there's a player on the floor for Alamein. Of course, a very familiar face here at the Veneto club is Estelle Burgess, of course. Did spend some of her youth career at Bulleen Lions, Box Hill and Northcote City. Of course, after that pretty brutal injury as well in 2023, where she missed the majority of that season. She's been ever present since and captain of the side. Still yet to seek that first senior goal as well. Will it be today? Maybe. It's come back the other way now as Kane goes along. Cortolino's there, and Leakopoulos just manages to usher the ball through to Miranda Templeman. And that's 45 minutes played here at the Veneto club. We seek how much additional time will be added to this game. There was, of course, an injury to Leah Mulberry. But, of course, Nikki Furukawa took her place, and Maddie Rakic moved to right back. Just the 2 minutes added on here. There's Eliadis. Just to find Cortolino through, and then here's Horton now, who will chase. Over to Myasik. Renahan now. Lost over to Myasik. Into the middle to Kane. Long ball over the top. Maya Markovsky's chasing. So is Leakopoulos. Maya Markovsky. It's a great save by Miranda Templeman. It's gone out for a corner, but it's not easy to save a Maya Markovsky shot, and Miranda Templeman's done it. Former gold medal winner and golden boot winner, just denied at the depth by Miranda Templeman, of course. But it will be another corner now for Bulleen Lions. Is sent into the box. It's pushed off the ball, and a free kick for Emma Runnels. Just less than a minute to go here at the Veneto club. Leakopoulos will take what will be one of the final kicks of this half as well. And send long. And that's half-time here at the Veneto Club. It's a Somalaski goal, separates the two sides. Alamein lead 1-0 going into the half. Minros Papadakis will be back with some more Senol NPL women's action in about 15 minutes' time. Welcome back to the second half here at the Veneto Club between Bulleen Lions and Alamein. It's 1-0 to the visitors. Alamein through a Somalaski goal. Pretty late into that half as well. It's been pretty much all Bulleen other than that. Of course, we've still got 45 to play here at the Veneto Club, the home of the Bulleen Lions. And it's Nikki Furukawa on the pitch in place of Leah Mulderi, who did leave the pitch injured in the 20th minute as Bulleen Lions get us underway very quickly and chased on by Tiff Eliadis and kicked out of play by Jess Shilton. Is Renahan. Over to Kane. And long ball. Tries to find Cortellino. Over to Eliadis. Tries to flick it over the top. And Cortellino again to the arms of Miranda Templeman. It's headed on by Runnels. And here's Zoe Horton, who sends Mysick to the ground. Of course, a win, as things stand, a win for Alamein would mean that they would climb the table to 5th place. And Bulleen Lions would remain in 3rd following results today. Box Hill and Essendon Royals. Of course, they would be separated in the league table by South Melbourne. Two former South Melbourne players on the pitch today. Of course, Nikki Furukawa and Olivia Bomford. And it's sent all the way wide again to Cortellino, who's very low to the ground. Tries across. Tiffany Eliadis levels the score. It's come out of nowhere, but Alana Cortellino with magic. Just spoke about Tiffany Eliadis as well, the former South Melbourne girl. Did spend some time at Melbourne Victory in the A-League Women Atletico Uranese in Portugal. And then a time at Olympiacos as well. It is her 5th goal for the season, Tiffany Eliadis. And it's 1-1 now. Very early into the half. Lasky. Knocks it off Maddie Rakic, and it will be their throw. Over to Markovski now. Saleh. Over to Kane. Finds Cortellino, and it's cleared by Burgess. All the way back by Rakic. Oh, and very quick ball by Renahan into the centre of the park, and it's pushed on by Lasky, headed on. Here's Horton. Struck over the top and deflected into the arms of DeLost. Here's Eliadis now the goal scorer. Over to the winger in Eliadis, and then goes over again to Cortellino. And now a long ball to the feet of Rakic, and then again over to Renahan. Back to DeLost now. Is Saleh. Shots the ball through to Cortellino. It is deflected out wide. Eliades from distance into the face of Alamein player, and just a halt in play. And it's ball sent on by Templeman. Pushed on by Cortellino again, and is Dustin. Is Saleh at the top. Leokopoulos, Shilton. Here's Lasky now. Goes on the inside to Theisen. Down the line to Shilton. It's cleared by Renahan and into the grandstand. There's Lasky now. There's Shilton. Tries to be headed on by Horton, and here's Theisen, who will chase, and here's Rakic now. Go long. Theisen. Here's Dustin now. Here's Burgess. And then Jasewski. Still Jasewski. Driving by Jasewski, and a chance for a cross by Jasewski. Headed on nearly. Oh, then almost sends it all the way through, but it is sent now to Furukawa. And then pushed out by Jess Shilton. It will be another throw. Matty Rakic to take this one now. And ball sent on by Majsek. There's Kane, who tries to break the defenders in half, and it goes all the way through to Templeman. Here's Renahan again, who finds Rakic, and then into Saleh, and finds Sarah Kane with a turn, who goes all the way backwards now to Majsek. And it's a long ball over to Cortellino again. Doesn't get around Burgess, but and there's Eliades, who just manages to knock that one on to the goalkeeper, and it will be Templeman who finds Leokopoulos now. Here's Lasky. Still Lasky. Driving Lasky, and gets ahead of Rakic and through to Horton, who's gone down. Of course, looking to the bench for either side. We do know that Bulleen's made one change already. Liam Mulderry off for Niki Furukawa, and that's the long throw sent all the way through to the goalkeeper. The bench for Alamein is Jordan Tom's Wedge, Matilda Laurie, Mila Ralph, Satara Kashimi, and Harriet Laurie. For the home side, it's JG Garon, Claire Angel, Emily Bunnell, Ashley Jordan. And Ava Breedis, the new signing from Canberra United. And Jess Shilton now will take the throw. It's a long throw as well. Finds the head of Nikki Furukawa. Over to Saleh and here's Kane. Shadara gets in front of her. Goes around Renahan. And Runnels. Over to Furukawa. And his Faison. Knocked in by Furukawa. And now to another throw as Emma Runnels goes down the line to Lasky. The ball has gone out. And it will be a Bulleen throw. Here's Eliadis. Wysick to Kane. And sends a through ball over to Cortolino. Cortolino goes over backwards now to Yates. And here's Kane. Sent the ball across to Shilton. And then over now to Matty Rakic, who will just send the ball over now to Eliadis. With the turn to Furukawa. Across the face to Maya Markovsky. And over to Furukawa now, who will strike over the bar. And almost on debut, could have been the hero. That Bulleen needed. Still 1-1 here, though, at the Veneto Club. It is Summer Lasky and Tiffany Eliadis with the goals. There's only a couple of lines up to take this one. Headed on by Runnels. Tries to find Jasewski, but pushed out a play by Yates. And then knocked on again to Runnels. Over to Horton. And then here's Rakic, who goes over to Cortolino. It's going to be a throw-in now for Burgess. He's tripped over and a free kick now for Alamein. Free kick now. Dustin to take. And Dustin with the free kick. Pushes it on. It will be an off-the-ball free kick for what looks like Nikki Furukawa. Dalost, though, will take the free kick. Rakic over to Eliadis now, and here's Cortolino. Again, sends the ball into the middle. And the ball sent long to Nikki Furukawa, who has a chance to cross near post and into the arms of Templeman again, and it's been one of Alamein's better players today. And it's sent long to Runnels. Over the top by Runnels, and it's the chance here for Anais Jasewski. Heads the ball on. She's got Yates in front of her. Goes around her. Cuts the ball crossed in. Cleared by Renahan. Again, sent back the other way by Yates. Pushed all the way down to Lana Cortolino. There's Burgess. Again to Shadara. There's Lasky, who's tries to get ahead of Rakic. That pushed on. Cleared again. There's Saleh now. He's got Dustin in front of her, and Jasevsky feeds through Runnels, who's pulled back in movement. And it's gone back the other way. There's Kane now, though, who will feed DeLost in goal. And then backwards the other way now. Sent on by Shadara again and just pushed all the way through to the goalkeeper. As Renahan manages to pass the ball back around the defeat. And sent on. And Shadara then. Goes long once again. Tries to find Anace Josefsky out wide, but does manage to find Mysick. There's Renahan. A long ball by Renahan. And Furukawa again. Got Jess Shilton on the inside. Furukawa. Just ball gets beyond her and it's headed on once again by Kane. Long by Horton. And here's Jasevsky now with the head up. Pushed on and Annabelle Yates gets in front of her. Back for Jasevsky, who finds Runnels. And then around by Kane. On to Lasky, who's intercepting that one. But Matty Rakic cleans it up and goes to Markovsky. Back by Markovsky. Over to Saleh now. Then here's Kane, who gets intercepted by Zoe Horton. And here's Yates. She'll take her time in that throw as she finds Eliadis. The other way now. And a substitute will come on now. It's Alana Cortolino coming off. And coming on is Ash Jordan for Bulleen Lions. Cortolino thought had quite a good game. Been running her legs off. But I think, in fact, it is Ava Breedis who has swapped shirts with Ash Gordon late as Markovsky sends it in. And then Boo just goes long. Looks like it was Ava Breedis. He did get subbed on. Of course, another new signing for Bulleen Lions. We kind of predicted this one would happen. And it's a ball sent in to Templeman, who manages to get down and clean that one up. Sent on, headed on by Renahan. Taken down by Dakota Bison. Again over to Horton. who finds Renahan. Back over to Breedis. And here's Dustin now chasing. And it's long by Dustin. And all the way through. It's a short ball sent over to Renahan. And over to Breedis, who pushes it onwards to Burgess again, and he's Leokopolis now. And then over to Annabelle Yates, who's taken down. It will be a free kick. Once again. Free kick for the former FB Academy player, but there will be another change coming on. This time Alamein. Double change. Coming off is Zoe Horton and Emma Runnels. And also coming off is Dakota Theisen. And replacing them is Harriet Laurie and Matilda Laurie, by the looks of it. Harriet Laurie sitting at left back as Anna Leokopolis moves into that midfielder role. And confirmation of that second change for you as well, as Maddie Rakic sends that one out for a throw. Is Rakic creeping? Looks like it is the Harry Laurie and, of course, Matilda Laurie, who enter the field of play. Twin sisters, as Furukawa sends it in and cleared by Shidara, headed down by Liadis. Again pushed on as Furukawa knocks it backwards to Somalaski, and here's Laurie now, the substitute. And Markovsky just gives away that free kick there, and it will be a Alamein free kick. Of course, Harry Laurie did spend some time at Bulleen as a junior, as well as Matilda Laurie. Both. And it's a ball sent on to Lasky now, who turns Rakic. And she's got a chance to drive, and she does. With a chance for a cross. Crossed in and sent over the bar by Anais Josevsky. That's good football there by Somalaski. In my man of the match for Alamein today. And it's sent short to Ava Breedis. Over to Yates. Back over to Leokopolis. Taken down by Laurie. He's got Furukawa now to deal with. In that changes is Dustin. Those changes mean that just Shilton and Shidara move to centre back. As Markovsky will drive. Sends it into the park. And here's Breedis. Will line up. It's cleared by Leokopolis, who gets in front of the ball. And a cross by Breedis again, and deflected off Leokopolis again. Of course, Leokopolis moved into that midfield role now. That role that she played a heavy part in that Bentley Green side last season, before moving to Alamein and playing at centre back in a back three, but sent on again. And it will be a throw. Laurie to take. Of course, Laurie's sisters, of course, ex-Bulleen and FE Academy. And Thyssen just is Breeders now, who has room to drive, but Leokopoulos does clean that one up and sends it on to Horton through to Delost. There's Renahan through to Furukawa. Back over to Renahan. There's Laurie. Shilton. Driving by Shilton. Goes wide to Lasky, the goal scorer for Alamein. With the cross. Just a little bit too far for the American. And he goes out for another goal kick. Sent on by Delost. Over to Eliadis. And here's Markovsky now. Through to Furukawa, who was offside. And it will be a throw this time. Is Laurie with the throw on to Horton, and Lasky chasing Kane back to Mysick. And then back to Renahan and over to Delost. And here's Laurie with the drive, who's Markovsky's all the way backwards, who tries a back heel and goes to Rakic, as Rakic feeds the line, but Dustin's in the way, and Horton dispossessed and goes over to Yates, all the way back to Lost and over to Mysick. Again, sent on to Markovsky. Markovsky tries it, but just Shilton just barges her way through that as Leokopoulos sends the ball down the line. Here's Eliadis. Long by Eliadis, and Furukawa doesn't quite get there in time. And it's 72 minutes on the clock here, just 18 to play. Both sides share the points. And here's Laurie over to Lasky, and then over to Shilton. Here's Lasky over to Horton. Send long to Josefsky. And that was offside. It looked close, but from this angle, it looked like she was behind the ball. And there is a change coming on. It's Matty Rakic coming off. Coming on for the Lions, it is Emily Bunnell. Sits in centre back now. Bunnell. Then is Yates, who goes into Saleh, and again Leokopoulos, who finds Josefsky. Horton. Josefsky again. Out wide. With the drive. This ball sent in by Burgess and cleared once again. And it's deflected again. And here's Kane, who knocks it on to Dustin. And here's Josefsky. Lasky with the backwards effort. And over to Delost in between the sticks. And that's 3 changes for Bulleen Lions in 3 different intervals. So if they need to make any more, must be an injury replacement change as Ava Breeder sends a magnificent ball over to Furukawa. It's Furukawa with a cross. It's pushed out of play by Harriet Laurie, and that's a corner now for Bulleen Lions. Of course, both debutants have remade their mark on this game so far. Of course, Ava Breedis, its 3rd stint at the club, but Nikki Furukawa has had a game of her life so far, coming in early to this game. Of course, due to that injury to Muldeary, but it will be Breedis. Sent in along the floor. Eliadis tries it. Late challenge and a yellow card to Nikki Furukawa, Canadian. And it's Laurie on the floor. Of course, the goal scorers for today, it's Somalaski and Tiffany Eliadis. For either side, it was Somalaski opened the scoring, as Dustin manages to knock it off, and it will be an Alamein throw, taken quickly to Horton. Here's Laurie again. Just pushes it out of play, and again, it will be Renahan now to take this one. Is Markovski bounced off her thigh. She hasn't gone goalless in many games, Maya Markovski, but goalless today is a genuine possibility for the youth native and gold medal winner. As Somalaski's pulled back, it will be an advantage played and an advantage lost. Yes, Maya Markovski on a 3-game scoring streak. 3 goals from the last 3 games. It was just a failure as a scorer in that 2-1 loss to South Melbourne. Before that, scored in every single game this year apart from 1. Including 4 goals against Bentley Greens as ball sent in long and into the arms of DeLost. Over to Eliadis now. Renahan chasing, but Lasky goes backwards now to Chilton. Over to Leokopoulos and then over to Shadara. And Markovski now will drive herself. Goes wide to Furukawa. Outside of the boot effort, Furukawa along the face. Over to Naisale, who's nearly taken down and just dribbles the ball out of play, but it will be a corner kick for Bulleen Lions. And it was one of these efforts actually last year that Tony Bruce just won goal of the year for, and it was an audacious overhead kick, but of course no longer present at Bulleen Lions. Will remain on at Melbourne City for the remainder of the NPL season. The ball sent in. Laurie clears. Shadara clears, and it will be another throw by Renahan. Over to Breedis. Back over to Renahan. Breedis. Ball sent long. We've got Matilda Laurie chasing. And then all the way back to DeLost. And over to Myshik. And here's Yates. Who's backwards to Eliadis. And here's Markovsky with the chipped ball over the top to find Annabelle Yates, but nothing either. Of course, still a couple changes to be made for Alamein, with just 10 minutes to go on the clock. Of course, on the bench for them is Satara Kashimi, Jordan Tom's Wedge, and Ella Kerrigan. As Samalaski finds some space down the line to drive. Into the middle. It's intercepted by Kane. Then she finds Furukawa. Lets the ball run. And goes out for another throw. And there is a winner in this game. I can feel it. But with just 10 to go. It is a stalemate at 1-1. Headed by Furukawa. Headed by Laurie. And the ball's out. Renahan over to Eliadis. And it's a late challenge on the ball and another free kick. Be Mbuno with the free kick, who goes over to Mysick. Driving herself, deflected by Shadara. Backwards by Breedis. Back by Brunel. Over to DeLost now. And then long ball through the middle. Cleared by Shilton. There's Lasky. He's taken down again off the ball, but is Brunel. Over to DeLost. And then sends it on to Kane. Finds Breedis and then sends it on again. Here's Dunstan. Over to Shelton. The long ball. Finds some Alaski, but deflected on the way off Kat Renahan. Laurie to take the throw. To Horton. Sent wide by Horton to Jasewski. Crossed by Jasewski over the bar. And it's still 1-1 here. Goal kick here now for this side. Alamein without a loss this month of football as well. Of course, this week's Female Football Week and shining light on the women and girls that really shape our game. And it's putting on a spectacle tonight at the Veneto Club as Tiffany Eliadis is brought down behind her, but here's Shadara now. Long ball. Over to Laurie, and then here's Leokopoulos, who is intercepted by Yates. And over the top by Breedis, and here's Markovsky, who sends Eliadis through, around the keeper. Tiffany Eliadis scores. That's a great effort. And the ball by Maya Markovsky was something else as well. Tiffany Eliadis has a brace. It's her 6th goal of the year, Tiffany Eliadis. And when she's not scoring, she's setting them up, Maya Markovsky. And just 5 minutes to go. The game's in Bulleen Lions' hands. After that amazing start that Alamein had. Of course, a result like this means that Bulleen Lions do sit in second place. They need to win by 3 to go atop the NPL women's Senol table. And ball sent into the box into Delos Psalms. And it has been a game of all Bulleen here, but it was moments of brilliance from Alamein that really got them that goal. And now Anais Jasewski will have to do something herself as she crosses the ball in. It's cleared almost on the line as Horton finds herself on the floor, and it will be an Alamein throw now. Oh, and it's a throw sent all the way to Nikki Furukawa and his Markovsky. Long by Markovsky to Furukawa, who's getting chased down by Shilton and pushed out to an Alamein throw. Of course, Mayor Markovsky did, I guess, sign a contract with the now defunct Western United. Of course, the last minute was signed during the window. That last minute decision meant that she did have to move to the NPL Victoria. Two-time A-League champion. Did spend last season in the A-League with Canberra United. Joined Spring Hills rather halfway through the season alongside the gold medal winner Alex Sinclair, but did win golden boot there as well, as the ball sent in, cleared by Renan. And then again, backwards. There will be a throw. And the under-20s as well was a very similar scoreline. It was 2-1 in the Bulleen versus Alamein under-20s match. And just 3 minutes on the clock here at the Veneto Club. Tempo dying down here in this game as well. Over to Jess Shelton now. Does send a long ball over to Samalaski. Gets dispossessed by Renahan. And now it's a throw in to Jess Shelton. Over to Laurie. Down the line to Lasky, who's brought down. And out for a Bulleen throw. And they won't be in any rush to get this restarted, Bulleen Lions. Of course, all changes have been made for Bulleen. I think Alamein could make a couple more in one extra window. Of course, they've made their double changes twice. They've got one change left over. As Dustin goes back to Shelton. Ball sent on, and Horton's chasing. And pushed down, and a free kick is given to the Veneto club. Of course, it's great seeing many teams in this league being so ethnically diverse. Of course, you've got your Bulleen Lions, who are so proudly Italian. You've got the likes of Avondale, who obviously play out of their Calabria club, and they're so proud to be Italian faith. You've got the South Melbourne Hellas, Box Hill Pythagoras, Bentley Greens, so of course Cypriot. Alamein's really struggled, I guess, for a home and identity in recent years, but of course failed to make finals their last 6 seasons in the competition. Have never gone down though, which is of course positive sign as Josefsky, the former Bulleen Lion herself, manages to knock the ball out for a corner. And going into the final minutes of regulation time now. Of course, not including added time. Which has not been decided upon yet. And it's Dustin to take the corner. I mean, one of the final efforts they do make. Shilton headed on. It's gone all the way through. Shadara chasing. Back to Laurie. Sent in by Laurie. Headed by Markovsky. Tossed on by DeLost. Sent into the goal by Aneliakopoulos, but looks like a head injury's halted the game. Of course, traditionally, it is top four teams do make the finals. Of course, Alamein did miss out last year due to final day. They did lose, but they missed out by 3 points to make that finals that they've been missing for the last 6 years. And, of course, the expansion of teams in the league might be an extended final series, but currently it's a top four make it, and Alamein's been ever so close in most years as well. Of course, Bulleen Lions have always been in amongst it. And traditionally as well, it is Alamein that do usually lose to Bulleen Lions in cup games as well, here especially in the Nike Cup. Of course, they've exited their last 3 Nike Cups by way of the Bulleen Lions. This time there is a very big chance they could play each other, having both progressed. Bulleen beating Bayside Argonauts and Alamein beating Bandura United, but and she will be walked off the pitch. Physio is very quick with it. It looks like that's just Shilton who was taken down, I think. And it is just Shilton who will be leaving, in Satara Kashimi entering the field. Does have 4 goals to a name in the under-20s. Satara Kashimi has been a pretty impactful player as well for Alamein this season. He's eligible for the under-20s, but has played quite a few games for the senior women's side. Did come on last week as well, midweek rather, for that game against Bandura. Again, of course, it was only a 3-day turnaround for these girls in both of these clashes, as Sidara sends backwards. Of course, it's a defensive change for an attacking one, as Alamein seek something out of this game. It is the 90th minute now and beyond, as the ball sent long to Markovsky. Down by Josefsky. Backwards by Burgess. And over to Templeman. Here's Laurie now. Finds Lasky, who brings the ball out of play. And it will be a Bulleen throw. And Renahan will take her time to get that restarted. Oh, and Somolaski's brought down, and it will be another yellow card for Kat Renahan. And it's a ball sent on by Leakopoulos, headed on by Kashimi. Again by Saleh, and here's Josevsky with her back to goal. He'll push it all the way on with a throw to Laurie. Over to Dustin. Fancy footwork by Dustin, who goes back over to Burgess. And there can't be long in this game left either, as Markovsky got not many numbers ahead of her and drives herself. Keep her scoring streak alive. Maya Markovsky goes backwards to her winger and then finds Breedis, former Canberra teammate of Maya Markovsky. And back to Renahan, who kicks the ball out. I think that's almost game over here for Alamein, unfortunately, as Somolaski goes the other way. And Bunnell manages to send the ball out again. And is Laurie chasing. Sends it into the middle of the park. Just Kasimi. Is Laurie, Kasimi. Free kick. Bulleen Lions. And that's just about it here in the Senol NPL Victoria Women's. Looks like it's about game over. The majority of the teams played as well. There's just the one fixture tomorrow in Melbourne Victory vs Preston Lions. At home with the Matildas at 3 p.m. Keep your eyes peeled for that one. It's a quite important clash for the bottom half of that table. A few A-League girls will be in that squad as well, you would assume. As Burnett goes along to Eliadis. Breedis chasing Leakopoulos. And then along to Furukawa. To Laurie. He goes to Lasky and he's pushed off the ball by Furukawa. And here's Breedis now. He runs to the corner flag. And keeps the ball in. And that's full time here at the Veneto Club. It is the home side. Bulleen Lions who claim all 3 points here. There's a Tiffany Eliadis brace that gave them all the 3 points, and Somolaski's goal in the first half wasn't enough to get a point out of this game for Alamein. Of course, puts an almost end to the Female Football Week, but I've been Ross Papadakis, and there's been more NPL women's action tomorrow at 3 p.m. as well as some men's action. And enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you very soon.